All right, let's bring in Jim Kelly, USFL legend, Bills Hall of Famer, and he joins us on short notice. Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm great. Did we wake you up, or did we interrupt anything?
No, as a matter, wake me up. No, not quite. I'm an early riser, and I've been heading to my lodge. So there's places that I do not get cell phone service, and some places a little better than others. So apologize. I know I was going to try to get on earlier, but I got here.
No worries.
That's what counts.
What's the lodge like? The Jim Kelly Lodge.
It is, to be honest with you, early on, it wasn't even part of my dream. I started out with a little place, and this is what I want, a bunch of land to hunt and have a couple buddies down. And all of a sudden, I realized that some of my brothers are also outdoorsmen. And I usually had Christmas up here, and I have 5 brothers, and my nieces and nephews are about 14, 15 now. And I said, you know what, I need to do something. So I built a beautiful lodge, and I'm a very blessed man because now, to make a long story short, I'm able to have all my brothers and have all my nieces and nephews at my lodge at Christmas when there's usually about 1 foot, 2 feet of snow in the southern tier of upstate New York, and Santa Claus comes. He comes through the woods on his sleigh, and it's pretty cool. So it's everything I guess I shouldn't say I dreamt about, but it is now. It's a place where, I've worked my butt off, and it's a place I call my second home.
Good for you. We were knee-deep in a conversation, all of a sudden reaching out to people who might want to weigh in on this. The most important quarterback stat is what? Not wins and losses, but aside from that is what?
Well, the ratio between touchdowns and interceptions. There's a lot. If you really look at it, to be the whole package, third down efficiency is definitely at the top. You want to make sure that you play smart because even this last couple of years, I looked at some quarterbacks, and when it's third down 3 to 5, everybody always thinks, go for the big play. They're thinking to throw it short, but it's moving the chains. And for me, probably there's no doubt that the interceptions to touchdown ratio is very important. Third down efficiency is probably, I'd say, right at the top.
Yeah, we were trying to figure this out when you're looking at what's the most important. Is it red zone efficiency, touchdowns, third down conversion rate? Because you're looking at these quarterbacks here, and I don't know how, Cam is different than Tom. Peyton, we're not sure of. Carson Palmer's probably closer to Brady than he is anybody else, right? How would you handicap these quarterbacks, the final 4?
Well, you pretty much hit it on the nose. Tom Brady, he's one people always ask me, what about New England? The thing is, it's hard you can't bet against him because here's a guy that seems to find a way to win games, seems to find, even though you're 2 touchdowns down with 2 minutes to go in the game, somehow, some way, Tom Brady's going to find his way. And that's how I really thought about Peyton Manning, a few years back. And, he's getting older and he doesn't quite have what he used to have, but Tom Brady still continues to do it. And then you look at Carson Palmer playing great football. I think you just put some more pressure on him. I think that's when I think he starts trying to maybe force balls in that he really shouldn't throw right away. But he's having a good year in Cam Newton. Everybody would love to have the athletic ability that he has. Here's a guy that can throw a 20-yard comeback without even stepping into the football. And if you watch him, play the game as far as his throwing technique, that's something I probably would not teach my kid if I had a son that was playing quarterback because a lot of times he just throws because he's so strong and has such a great athletic ability. He don't need to step into the football. Maybe if he did, he'd be throwing it too hard for those guys to catch, but he's got everything you'd want as a quarterback. But, again, when it comes down to it, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady.
What's the first thing to go on a quarterback?
I think the arm. Mentally, even for me, it was my arm. Of course, I had a number of concussions. I ended my career with a concussion, but it's definitely the arm. I know that I had tendonitis so bad because you only have so many throws in your arm. And you got to go all the way back to when you were growing up and how much you threw the football in high school. You always wanted to throw the deep ball. In college, you think you're the king. And when you're young, you want to show everybody you can throw the ball 70, 75 yards. But quarterbacks, you only have so many throws in your arms, and you got to rest them. When you're off season, people say you got to keep working out. You have to, as far as maybe the cardiovascular part, but you need to rest your arm because sooner or later you're going to throw so many passes that arm's not going to be the same way. That ligament's going to stretch out, and your arm won't be the same as it was before.
He's Jim Kelly, the Hall of Famer, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. How many concussions did you have?
I don't know. How many are charted? I think maybe 4. How many did I have? Who knows? Because you got to remember, back in the day when we played, you come off the sidelines and they'll do the typical, how many fingers do I have up? Where are you at? Who are you playing against? Things like that. And then as a quarterback, and even as a player, period, you if you can get out there, you're going to get out there. I mean, that's just the way it was back then. Was it smart? Probably not. But you tell that to anybody that played competitive sports, especially football, that if you can get back out there, you're going to get out there. And then you look at your teammates. I look at, Thurman or Bruce, and they got dinged, and it looks like they can get back out there. They're going to get back out there because that's what we expect of each other, to play when you're hurt. But that's just the way it is. But the protocol now, I think, is going to help, and it'll hinder because sometimes you might think you can't go back out there, but by them doing their protocol on the sidelines and people from upstairs, you might not get back out on the field. But health-wise, it's probably the best thing they can do. But for your team, you're always going to look at somebody, come on, man, get back out there.
Do you have any USFL gear still left?
I probably have some footballs. My shoulder pads, I think my helmet, and a few others are at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So they pretty much swiped up everything. They say, hey, what about this? Oh, it's in good, it's in good hands. You don't have to worry about it. So I know where my stuff is. At least I know somebody's not going to come in and rob me like they did about 15, 20 years ago. They took so much stuff out of my house, and it kind of bummed me out. And there's stuff that I probably, don't even know they took. So unfortunately, things like that happen.
Never tracked it down?
Some of it we did. We found out who it was. He got prison time, but again, my brother Danny went to a bunch of the places that he had. To make a long story short, I'm at Marino's golf tournament, and I get a call from my buddy. He said, "Hey, by the way, did you sell your Shaquille O'Neal autographed shoe?" I go, "No, why?" He goes, "Well, it's at the flea market. They're selling it for $600." I go, "What?" He said, "Yeah, a guy said in lieu of paying him cash, you gave him memorabilia." I go, "You've got to be kidding me." Of course, then I knew who it was, and he was helping himself to my storage room, and he continued each day taking 10 or 15 things, putting it in his trunk, leaving. And there was a kid I trust. I was helping. He was divorced. He had a couple kids. He didn't have a job. And I thought, you know what? He seems like an all right kid, but unfortunately it turned out the opposite way.
Are you cancer-free?
Yes, I am. And thank God on that one. I just, as a matter of fact, got back about a week and a half ago. I had a bunch of biopsies that were taken because they saw some things through my, I do a quarterly MRI, and unfortunately, I just found out that I'll be doing those for the next couple of years. But I traveled to New York City, and they took some biopsies because they didn't like what they saw. And thank God that they came back all negative.
Boy.
But the mouth is a little sore now. Imagine them cutting and, doing what they want in your mouth and then put your prosthesis in and trying to talk like I'm doing now, and more as eating. But you know what, Dan? The more I travel the country speaking, the more I realize I don't have it that bad. There's so many people that have it a lot worse than I do. And as long as I can continue to, convince people to keep fighting and never give up, I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, I've been through a lot in my life with my son, and, going to those 4 Super Bowls and losing, and just a lot of things, the ups and downs. But the thing is, it's all about the attitude. It's all about surrounding yourself with good quality people, and that's what it's about. That's what got me through, family and friends, and of course the great people in Buffalo. I'm a very blessed man. I have nothing to complain about. God only gives you what you can handle, and right now I'm doing fine, and keep pressing on.
What'd you think of the 30 for 30 on you guys losing 4 Super Bowls?
I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I didn't like the title, to be honest with you. 4 Falls of Buffalo. Okay, bud, we know we fell. We know we did, but we got back up. But I didn't like that part. But the good part I liked about it all was how it really showed people what Scott Norwood's all about. A class guy, a good guy. Not one of the players ever blamed him for missing that field goal, and he'll go down because he did it. But I also say to people that ask me that question, I was the quarterback of those 4 Super Bowls, and I lost. And it's not a good feeling, but you know what, Dan? The further we're removed from those games, the more people look back and say, wow, what you guys accomplished is unbelievable. Even though we didn't win, But just think about it. I always had to rely on Bruce and Thurman and Darryl and all those guys to be, physically and fit. I knew they would. But you never knew how these guys were going to mentally take it because they got to hear it in the off season. You have to go through the whole preseason. How are they mentally going to, focus on it? And we did because we had a guy by the name of Marv Levy who knew what to say, when to say it. And I'll tell you what, we rallied. We're a family. Even though we couldn't pull it together at the end, we never, ever gave up. And we played together. And, Dan, we still, to this day, about 20, 30 of us always get together. They come up to my tournament. We go to other people's tournaments, and we still have a blast. I don't care. You can say what you want about us, how much fun we had back in the day, and we didn't win. But I'll tell you what, we are still family, and we still enjoy each other's company.
Did you have too much fun?
No, heck no. Too much fun would have been after we won. And as a matter of fact, CBS is doing something now about. And I didn't really want to do it, but Steve Tasker, of course, he works for CBS, and Marv did it. And, on what would have been like if we would have won. And some of the phrases it's great to beat the Dallas Cowboys 2 in a row. And, I knew Scott was going to make that field goal. Some other things that they're going to run during Super Bowl week. But you know what? I don't mind talking about it because even though we didn't win, you know what? Poke fun at yourself. Yeah, I don't care. I was able to get there. So many guys, and I know you've heard this before, that have never, gotten to a Super Bowl. One of the greats, Warren Moon, never got to a Super Bowl. And there's a lot of running backs that Thurman always brings up. But the thing is, look at Dan Marino, good example. One of my good buds, everybody thought he was going to 4 or 5. He went once. And so I enjoy talking about it. I don't like, to sit there and dwell on what we did because one thing that I've learned throughout my life is when you are faced with a negative thought, it can stay in for a minute or two, but get rid of it. And I guess that's why when I played the game of football, when I threw an interception, I learned from it. I moved on. I didn't dwell on it. I didn't worry about it. And that's what you got to do. You got to be able to turn that negative into a positive. And that's what I've been able to do my whole life. And that's why I'm still sitting here at 56 years old with an attitude that if I can make a difference in not only the young people's lives, but the older people's lives of what I've been through, and God bless me, and I'm going to keep fighting. If I'm making a difference, and that's a big plus.
Thank you, Jim, joining us on short notice, and glad you're healthy. I can hear it in your voice. But thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Dan. Enjoy your show. You do a heck of a job, and hopefully we'll see you down the road, bud.
That's Jim Kelly. Thank you. I did survive a night out with the Kelly boys.
And the brothers are tough.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. His brothers are all pros. Yeah, they come to play.
Did they sack you?
In Atlanta, the Atlanta Super Bowl. I survived a night out with the Kelly brothers. And like when they came in, it's like a gunslinger when they come into town. Like, Kelly brothers are here. And we're all gathered there as a group sitting around the table, and all of a sudden everybody's scattered. I'm the only one at the table. And I go, what just happened here? Kelly brothers are in town.